So let's take a look at some cookie cutter copycat yarn crafts that is online out there. And then we will look at 6 different creative yarn activities that we can do with children. So all yarn is not the same. This is a regular standard yarn. These are the same type of thing, but in smaller skeins, I think they're called, small colorful ones. These are multicolored, and these are extra thick yarn, which I will show you works better for some things. For this yarn activity, we're going to use branches that I found outside, and we're going to wrap them, and I'm going to use this multi-colorful yarn. I actually have saved yarn from other activities onto these very large popsicle sticks, so these would be really good kinds of yarn to use for this activity. So I think most ages can do this. Just let them wrap the yarn, and they can go over. It doesn't have to be exact. They can use different colors. One of the things I did see is that you need to have shorter branches. If it's going to be too long, it is harder to do so. I'm in the middle of doing one of them, and I ended up cracking it in half because it just works better to wrap the yarn. So once all the branches are wrapped, you can use these for sculpture. Take a hot glue gun. If they're too young, you can do the hot glue and just let them connect them together, and even add some bare branches. So for this, we're going to do yarn painting. I have 3 colors out on plates. If you need to spread it, you can use a craft stick to spread it out. I'm also using the thick yarn, and I'm doing them short so it'll be easier, and skinny pieces. So they basically put it in here. Another reason to use a craft stick if you want, and then you put it on the paper and you let them go like that. That's in one. Let's see, that's the, okay, I guess I'll have to put my finger down, but then you have the yellow, go that way. You can put that back over there. And then you see how it looks interesting when you have different thicknesses, but that's basically the idea of yarn painting for young children. So this is going to be a yarn collage, and what you need to do with yarn collage is you need to put the glue down, and I'm going to cut these into pieces, and then they're going to put it down without touching the glue, hopefully, because then the hands get very gluey and it's very hard to use the yarn because it gets full of the glue. So it's really, you're just taking the glue and just, this is something that a lot of kids will enjoy anyway, just getting glue all over the place. Actually, what you can do is use some kind of craft stick and move the glue all over the place, and then they can just separate or just put it in different, older children will try to make something, maybe letters, maybe words, I don't know. You can go like this to get it to stick, but and then of course you could put a whole bunch on, and then you could even put some glue on top. That's another interesting concept. I find beginning sewing, teaching sewing with yarn is a popular activity, and the way I have done it in the past is I use a piece of foam, craft foam, not the peel and stick ones, because this is very easy for the needle to go through. It's a blunt tapestry needle, some yarn, and a piece of cardstock, which I learned from the well-known Cassie Stevens art teacher. You take a piece of cardstock, you fold it in half, and this is how you teach children to thread a needle. You put it in here with it not sticking out, and then you put it through the eye of the needle, and there you go, it's threaded. Then you teach them how to tie a knot and a knot at the other side, and then I teach them 2 stitches when they are using this. The first one is the whip stitch, which means you go up from one side and one side only, so they go all around, because this is teaching them just beginning sewing, so they could go all around this way, and they will make plenty of mistakes. You could just take them out and fix it for them. When they're ready to do the inside, they can draw a picture or a word or a heart, and then I would cut this and tie it on the back, but then we teach the running stitch, which goes up and down and up, do as close as possible, and down. And this is the beginning sewing using different color yarns if they'd like, of course. So I'm going to make a very easy cardboard loom, and I'm going to do a small one just to show you. I took just a piece of hard cardboard, and I'm going to make notches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to make sure that it's the same on this side, I'll just move my Then you make tiny cuts that make notches right where the pencil marks are. Now what we're going to do is we're going to warp the loom. So I took a different kind of yarn. It's not a furry string, and I'm using the notches, and I'm going, if you notice, I'm not going around the back. I'm going in the front, and I'm going onto one and then down there. That's called warping the loom, and I'm making the warp, I'm warping the loom that we are going to weave. Now, I am not using this thin yarn. I've learned about this thicker yarn because when you use the thickened yarn, it fills up much quicker. I found in the past that when the children would use the thin yarn, it took forever to fill up their loom. So here I was using a thick tapestry needle. You don't necessarily have to, and I'm just weaving one way and then going around and going back. So once you finish with one color, I cut it, I leave it hanging, I take another piece, maybe another color, and I'm not using a needle this time. I'm just using my fingers, and I'm going opposite because that's what weaving is all about. You go the opposite. If it's under one, then you go over the other one. You pull it to the end so it's hanging to the same length as the piece that you cut off, and then you just go under and over until you get as far as you want for the piece. Once you're finished, I didn't finish the whole thing, you push it up as tight as you can because that makes it a tighter weave. Then you take off the tape, you cut it, you take the whole piece off, and there you have your piece. It could be anything that they want. It could be just a weaving hanging, it could be a piece of material for a doll, and then you cut it and tie the knots. So this is called a yarn resist, and I just thought of this idea because of all the other resists I'll do. So here, the children could actually take any kind of, any pieces, thick and thin. They could even make it into a shape or a letter that they like. For example, let me see, this looks like an S, right? Like an S, or something like this. Maybe I'll take another couple of pieces like this, and then what I am going to do, I have these spray bottles in here. This was a store-bought one. It's like something that's used in mixed media art, but this was just, I used watercolor paints, liquid watercolor paints, and put it into a spray bottle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this, let it dry, and then pick up the yarn. So what happened when I tried this at first, the yarn was getting blown away from the sprays. So this is how I'm dealing with that. I took a little glue and I mixed it with water, and I am actually going to rub, it's like watered down glue, rubbing it all over the paper, okay? So let's see if this will work. And now I'm going to place the yarn again, but this time, hopefully it won't blow away. So let's see what happens. Put that down here. This is actually a good way to do the collages also, just to add the glue first. So let's see, we put that there, we put that there, and let's see what happens now. Oh, that is working. Okay, I could have used some of this too, but just on the side, I guess. Okay, now let's see what happens. I didn't wait till it dry. I'm just going to lift it up. There we go. That's pretty cool. And here's where you can see how much nicer it looks with the thicker yarn, because you can see it better. So to learn more about non-cookie cutter copycat crafts, go to eduartforkids.com. I have a free mini course for you there.